Afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. So now we have the last speaker of session 3, who will talk about the smart and connected lock, see how they apply on smart building, office, apartment, or hotel. So they are coming from Singapore. Let's welcome Chun Cheng Chong, Business Development Director and Partnership from Singtel Group, and John Lim, Director of Business Development, Southeast Asia, Eagle Home.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know this is the first session after lunch, so I'm trying not to bore you down with all the slides, so I'm just keeping it very simple. First of all, my name is CJ Chong. I think it's a short term, it's easier. And I run the Global Alliance and Partnership for Singtel IoT team, mainly on the B2B side, enterprise business. Have been with Singtel for 2 years, and before that I spent 10 years in networking company, Cisco Systems, and then before that about 8 to 10 years in management consultancy. So very happy to be here. I would like to just take this chance to welcome also on stage my one of our major partners in terms of IoT partnership, from Eagle Home, who is a leading provider of smart lock solutions. Very happy to have John with me, that he will actually share more details later on. I'm just going to do a very quick introduction of who is Singtel. I think most of you already know. We are the #1 mobile operator in Singapore under the name of Singtel. And we also own 100% of Optus, the #2 operator in Australia. We also have between 30 to 40% stake on some of the regional operator, the #1 in Thailand, AIS, Airtel for India and some African country, Globe in Philippines, and Telkomsel in Indonesia. Together, we have about close to 700 plus mobile subscribers across 3 continents and across 22 countries. I came from Group Enterprise, which is the B2B department of Singtel Group. And B2B is actually a direct enterprise customer-facing unit. And we have ICT services across, and NCS, the ICT arm mainly for government project, is also part of our B2B group. Last but not least, we also have another group called Group Digital Life, which consists of some of the new business kind of companies, which includes DataSpark, which is our data analytics arm. We also have Hook, which is our paid TV arm, and also Innovate, who is our investment arm, who among other companies have also invested in Eagle Home. A little bit on Group Enterprise. Yearly revenue for the last FY around 6.5 billion Singapore dollar. That includes NCS. And we have about 15,000 employees, mainly in Singapore and also some in Australia under Optus. And we have 12 data centers, and we operate over 70 offices across 25 countries. Very quickly, I would go into what we are doing in IoT. Again, just to keep things very simple, in Singtel, we look at IoT in a 3 kind of physical dimension. #1, we look at how the use of IoT can help to track assets. Assets can be any movable or non-movable device that is could be moving, could be stationary, by sending data. Okay, to look at the status of the device or act as a sensor to collect data. Then we look at space. Some of the IoT application can be, for example, surveillance cameras. It can be other things that look at monitor and manage the physical environment. And last but not least, people. So all the IoT solutions and our IoT strategy are centered around these three kind of physical and digital areas that we are looking at. Now, how? This is how we actually build our IoT capabilities. Number one is sensors, right? So sensors are in the form of, it could be in the form of digital cameras that take images or footage of any object or the environment. It can be anything which is related to, for example, a lock or even an environmental sensor, a temperature sensor, any end devices that sense something, okay? So that is the first part of it. And then you go through what we call a transport layer. That's where you bring the data from the sensor through some kind of a media into the database, right? So this could be done through multiple media. It can be done through cellular connection, which is what telco is good at, 3G, 4G, and now we have the NB-IoT and eMTC, which is also called Cat-M1. Or it can be through Wi-Fi and other kind of connection, for example, Bluetooth and stuff like that, which I think our partner will actually share with you, the different kind of technology, to basically bring the data back to the platform. And then we have a big data area, which is the core component of any of the IoT application, is that how do you then digest and make sense of the sensor data, right? You connect all the data, you need to build certain kind of intelligence, and that is the next step of it. So we also call this more of an AI engine or big data, whatever terms you call that. It's basically to build some business rules and to have some kind of intelligence business decision around it. One example could be that if you put a sensor which is looking at analytics, for example, right? A typical use case would be, if you send some object that appears somewhere and it's not supposed to appear, what do you do, right? So that is the intelligence part of it. And then last but not least, application, right? So how do you apply this into the real world? What do you do when certain analyses happen and when you realize that there are some decisions to be taken, and that's the application layer. And typically, application layer might touch upon some other systems that you already have as enterprises. It could be your ERP system, it could be your CRM system and whatnot, for you to actually make certain decisions. Now, very quickly, I just have this one slide on what Singtel is doing, because this is not a selling session. But very quickly, I will just go through. We are still a telco, right? So I think one of the key differentiators is that we provide cellular connection, which is a bottom layer that you looked at. As of now, for the Singapore coverage, we have 3G, 4G that has been running. For those of you who are not aware, Singapore has shut down 2G nationwide, so we don't have that technology anymore. And we have moved everyone, M2M and also mobile subscriber, everyone to 3G, 4G, and in a very near future, 5G. And then for IoT connectivity, we have actually rolled out nationwide both NB-IoT and Cat-M1, so these are both available. We actually allow the customer to choose whatever connectivity that actually suits their need, right? So the difference between NB and Cat-M1 is that they are extremely power efficient. So for those devices that it's very difficult for you to pull a power source, that's where you go into NB-IoT and Cat-M1, okay? Moving up the stack, the orchestration platform is what we call Singtel Element. We are planning to launch this maybe 1 or 2 months down the road. It's actually built on a Microsoft Azure platform. And this is a single panel of glass where all the applications that you saw on top, right, will be running a single platform, okay? So the application layer and the solution layer is still work in progress. We have the video analytics at the edge, the IoT Sense to detect and to enable things like people counting and also fall detection and so forth. And then we also have video intelligence, which we actually partner with a few partners around the world. And last but not least, Smart Lock, right, which is the second from the right-hand side under application, which we actually have a strategic partnership with Igloo Home, which John will talk about it later, okay? And all these are still, majority are work in progress. We have the Smart Lock already launched with our partner. The rest of it, for example, we are also looking into some kind of a smart energy, smart building, and mobility solution in terms of cold chain. Basically, to bundle it together with our connectivity and provide an end-to-end solution to the end customers. Now, I just have another 2 or 3 slides. We realized that we are pretty much a very localized kind of a provider. Singtel, we do have a global footprint, but like it or not, in terms of our capabilities, we are still pretty localized. One of our strategy is actually to expand our capabilities and quickly scale up to the global scale through partnerships. A few global partnerships that we have actually announced, these 2 are being announced, was actually announced in February during MWC Barcelona. We actually signed a pretty substantial partnership with both China Mobile and also with Microsoft. The China Mobile partnership is simply to be able to do 2 things, right? To actually provide connectivity outbound of China, which China Mobile is a market leader for that, but they actually wanted to take the connection local, and they have chosen Singtel to be the default provider for their connectivity needs in this part of the world, leveraging on our affiliation. And the other partnership we announced is actually more on the AI portion that we partner with Microsoft Azure. And it's basically to collaborate with them, making use of their huge database of the IoT ecosystem partners, and also to leverage on their AI and cloud capabilities so that we can quickly scale. Last but not least, we also announced a thought leadership. We published a white paper. You can go to singtel.com/IoT. You will see this white paper. And it's basically to simplify the device onboarding, which is the most painful part of any IoT deployment, to bring it from a typical 10 steps of onboarding into 2 steps. Okay? So the white paper actually detailed down what needs to be done and what are the capabilities that we have enabled between a Singtel connectivity into device into AWS. So to simply put, we reduce the onboarding from 10 steps to 2 steps, and you are welcome to go to the white paper to find out exactly how it was done. Now, given this, I'm happy to bring it to the next presentation, which I'll invite John to give more details on it, is our partnership with Igloo Home. I don't have any slides on that because I will get John to tell you live. And this is a strategic partnership because we've been working with them for the past almost 2.5 years. We have gotten a lot of traction. We are already bidding in a lot of big projects that we have in Singapore. And let me just welcome John to take the stage and take you through. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John from Igloo Home. So what I do at Igloo Home is that I'm the Director of Business Development for Southeast Asia. And I'm very happy to share the stage with CJ from Singtel. I can just share with you a few things about Singtel or our partnership with Singtel. I think with Singtel, we have worked on B2C strategies, for example, bundling broadband plans in Singapore with our locks. We're also working together to bid for bigger B2B kind of solutions, provider kind of solutions for all this in this space. So this is Singtel. So this is about me. So in Igloo Home, we envision a world without keys, or at least without physical keys. A bit about us. On the left-hand side, you see that we started off as a smart access or a smart home company. And we started in 2015, 2016. And now our locks have been sold in more than 90 countries now. On the right-hand side, you see a familiar logo. That's Singtel. So Singtel Innovate invested in us in the very early stage. And later on, we've gotten a lot more traction with investors. Seeds Capital is the investment arm from Enterprise Singapore. We've got Insignia Ventures. We've got Shangri-La. Kickstart is the investment equivalent of Globe, also a partner with Singtel in the Philippines. Globally, we are a preferred partner of Airbnb, HomeAway, and Booking.com. So we are not just through these partners. Our locks are also now sold in all these countries through distributors and resellers. We've got presence globally now in 13 Igloo Home-centric offices. We are the leader in making access simple, safe, and smart. On the left-hand side, you see the physical smart hardware. On the right-hand side, you see a mobile app, and that's available on iOS or Android Play Store. On the furthest right-hand side, you see that if you're managing access as an enterprise, you're managing hundreds, thousands of locks, you've got a dashboard to help you to do it a lot easier. So Igloo was started to manage or to have a smarter home. Igloo Works was launched earlier this year for smarter cities. Now, what does the vision of a smart city for Igloo Home looks like. Here you go.
This is Sam. He uses Igloo Home smart locks both at home and in the office. Sam doesn't need physical keys anymore. Even while at work, Sam can remotely allow Julie, his cleaner, to enter his home whenever he wants with ease. No hassle at all. Meanwhile, his colleague, Lenny, is trying to enter the worksite. Using the Igloo Works dashboard, Sam can provide Lenny with secure access to specific places in the entire building, from roof access right down to the work panels. Igloo Home's secure cryptography infrastructure lets the right people in while keeping the wrong ones out. With this innovative technology, Igloo Home can be used across a myriad of industries. From fleet management to buildings, and even infrastructure management like cell towers and more. Igloo Works Access Management Platform provides real-time tracking and analytics to keep you in the loop at all times. We're changing the landscape of smart access to build smarter cities. Access the future with Igloo Works today.
So Igloo Works solutions are for creating access ecosystems for smart cities. Now, what are the unique features from a smart home to a smart city? You are going to manage access at a much larger scale. You're going to have remote sites, and you're going to have a lot more need for increased security beyond your home. So our offering includes this. Smart locks, that's the hardware. We've got the software part, which is the app and the dashboard. And in between, how do we make sure that they work and talk to each other? We have options of connectivity options. We've got NB-IoT, LTE-M, Z-Wave, Bluetooth, and we've got this algo pin technology that we've been using since day one. So now, our solutions offer both offline and online. Now, for offline, where real-time activity logs are not critical, you can use our offline option when there's no network available. If a telco site is down, when there's no connectivity, there's no way you can send a message, for example, you can use our offline lock. When there's no need for remote configuration, and you can also use the offline option when there is policy for no data transmission. For online lock, these are the options that you can have, or that's conducive for you to use our online solution. We need real-time activity logs and notification when someone enters the door or locks the door. We actually got a real-life demo right now using NB-IoT at our booth. And we're very happy to announce that we have launched the world's first NB-IoT padlock. Now, what does this mean? Even if NB-IoT is down or there's no connectivity, our offline option, the algo pins plus the activity logs are still available. We're able to activate the multi-factor authentication. This is ideal for remote sites and gives you real-time activities and alerts. We're also happy to say that we launched the world's first smart modular deadbolt using NB-IoT. Same thing, algo pin access, remote configuration, and this is perfect for property and facilities management. So with this smart modular deadbolt, you're able to have not just NB-IoT, even Z-Wave and Cat-M1. So this is the module that makes it possible. Now let's talk a bit about the dashboard. So now when you're managing access over multiple sites, you need a few things. Ability to monitor and gives you alert. And when you're going to manage the site, you're going to have different personnel or internal colleagues with different responsibilities. You're now able to do that using the dashboard. You can do customizable scheduling for workflow management. And we're able to do an API and SDK integration so that you and your team do not need to face multiple dashboards just to manage access. So not just doors and locks, we're looking at cam locks for lockers, we're looking at safes, we're looking at swing handle lock, and this is for data servers, sensors as well, and many more. We welcome you to speak to us about your pain points, and we're happy to discuss how we can solve them together. And these are some of the real-world use cases with Igloo Works solutions. We've got building and facilities management. So this is taken in Singapore, where common facilities in HDB. HDB is Singapore's public housing board. These are common areas that requires access. When something happens, technicians, contractors, 24/7 needs to access the site to solve these issues. How do they do that? In the past, it's always been using keys. By using our IGLUWorks solution now, you're using a Bluetooth key or using PIN codes. In the middle, you see this rooftop access. This is where a lot of our water is being stored on top of HDB blocks. So recently, or a few years back, there was a security breach. Something that was not supposed to be found inside the water tanks was found inside the water tanks. So the government in Singapore are getting a lot more paranoid about the security and about these access points. Infrastructure, utilities, and telco. Now with Singtel, they have been managing these common access points for MDF rooms. Not just Singtel, but also other telcos need to access these common places to get access to their cabinet servers. So in the past, it's always been keys. Keys get lost. People duplicate keys. There's no way you track who and when people enter your site. With our solutions now, you can all do that in a safe and smart manner. We've got logistics, transport, and delivery. Without telling you the name of this company in Singapore, they have the same problem. A common door or common access point, multiple people going through, in and out. Contractors, internal colleagues, external contractors, and technicians. So same thing. They want to have a safe peace of mind, managing very important assets. So our solutions are purpose-built for large-scale assets management of facilities, infrastructure, and assets. If you have any questions, feel free. I'm available at the booth. Otherwise, I'll end it right here. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, CJ and also John. I think it's a very good solution. Actually, if I have one in my home, I think my wife will be more happy because I always forgot to bring my key. So I need to get one, maybe even more. Yeah. So now we have a panel section, which is talking about how to fostering the IoT ecosystem in the region. You know, in ASEAN, actually, a lot of government, they have a Smart Nation, IR 4.0, or the Industrial 4.0 roadmap. In Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. So today I'm glad to invite a combination of government, association from different countries. We want to talk about how we can work together to solve a lot of fragmentation. We heard about IoT with different vertical, different devices, different platform, right? So a lot of fragmentation issues, but the market opportunities is huge, right? So I definitely want to discuss with my panel about whether we can do something together as an ASEAN family, right? So let me introduce my first panelist, which is John Tay, Director of MCMC in the Department of Director of Community Empowerment Department in Malaysia MCMC. Welcome, John. So next, James Lai, Chairman of Malaysia IoT Association. Welcome, James. Angie Yadi, Vice President of Indonesian IoT Association. Welcome. Okay, we have more. Boy Wakasuno, Head of IoT Innovation and Enablement from XL Axiata. CK Wiswakammer, Founder of IoT SG Singapore. Welcome, CK. And finally is Dr. Alistair Evan Douglas, Founder and Partner of HMR Technologies. So, yeah, I think many people want to know each of you. What are you doing? How you relate to IoT? And what have you done about the IoT? How you fostering the ecosystem? Maybe quickly introduce, start from John.
Okay, thank you, Terence, for the introduction. Just a little bit on my background. I look after the digital empowerment. Basically, three areas. Basically, one is the makerspace, and then we look at IoT and the overall smart city. So a little bit on my background, I've been I've been doing quite a lot of initiative to profilate the adoption of IoT in Malaysia for the past 10 years. We have went through a very exciting journey. From day one, I didn't know what is IoT, you know. So basically, you know, I picked it up a lot along the way. My journey started back in when I was in Japan. That's how I got my a little bit exposure in IoT. And from MSMC perspective, basically I mean, you can't run away with connectivity. You know, our first initial initiative basically on RFID. RFID is basically I would say, the starting block of the journey of IoT. So that is a little bit on my journey.
Okay, James, please.
Okay. Thanks, Terence. My name is James Lai. I'm the current chairman of the Malaysia IoT Association. So basically, it's a very young NGO started way back in 2016. So at the moment, we have about 70 members, right? So we have members working in all the A to Z ecosystem of IoT. Members, they are developing IoT devices, cloud services, AI, analytics, all the way to connectivity. At the moment, we work closely with the Malaysia government. We are actually part of the National 5G Task Force in the business case subgroup, right? Working on what are the business cases for 5G. We are also part of the industry forward policy. This is championed by MITI, right? We are providing our feedback from industry on how to implement smart manufacturing type of applications.
Thank you. Boy?
All right. Thank you, Terence, for inviting us. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Boy from XL Axiata, one of the mobile operator, part of Axiata Group in Indonesia. I am the head of IoT innovation and enablement. Basically, it's just an IoT lab that we started last year, which aim to help accelerate the development of IoT ecosystem in Indonesia. Probably further talks we can discuss later. Thank you.
Angie?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's a great panel. It's a great honor to be here. My name is Andri, CEO of Dicodex, but I'm here to speak as a Vice President of Indonesia IoT Association. So we are even younger than Malaysia IoT Association. We just started formally by the end of last year. Now we already have about 500 members, including XL, of course, XL XCAM, and another telcos, a lot of companies, and also startups, makers and hobbyists, and also professionals. We've been working with government within a certain arrangement. We help governments to create a what we call it competence certification for IoT, the first in Indonesia. We work also with government and universities and enterprises to bring along the maker community to make them to be go upper to make the prototype goes to the market, kind of things. In fact, today actually we have what we call it IoT Maker Creation Program. Today is the announcement for the winners. That's why initially Pak Teguh as the chairman will be here, but he has to attend the event. So yeah, I mean we try to catch up with the rest of the region, and if you guys want to collaborate in Indonesia, please come to us. We will be happy to collaborate. Yeah.
Great. CK?
Yep. Thanks, Terence. Glad to be here. It's CK. I'm based out of Singapore. I'm the founder of IoTSG, which is, we call it as an open adaptive ecosystem initiative to support the IoT adoption in the region. And quick bit of background myself that I came to Singapore in 2003, 16 years, as a student to pursue my master's in robotics. And last 14, 15 years, I built complex systems, complex machine in a couple of industries, oil and gas, aviation, broadcast media technologies. So back in 2014, when Smart Nation Initiative was started in Singapore, and the whole hype of IoT, digital transformation happening, I was observing as a business and architect in the organization before, that IoT is not just about three-letter word, it's much more complex. To put an IoT solution, there are like 7 layers of technology you have to put in together. It's not just about platform, connectivity, infrastructure, or application. So seeing that gap that everybody is running in silo, we took a hard challenge. Let's try to put them together. We need to raise awareness of IoT as a solutions, as a business, as a value, and how do we create collaboration among various stakeholders. And that's what IoTSG does. So yeah, so I'm here to learn more from what is happening in this region. And we saw the launch yesterday about IoT Tech Lab to collaborate. I'm looking forward to hear and learn more from everyone. Thank you.
Sure. Alistair?
Thank you, Terence, and thank you, GSMA, for having us here. I'm Alistair Douglas from Each Mile Technologies. We've been working at the first mile and the last mile and all the miles in between supply chains, notably seafood supply chains. We have been focusing a lot at the very start of the supply chain, looking how we can gain access to small-scale fishers and small-scale farmers with applications that are free to access and free to use. And then recently we've been focusing a lot on distributed ledger technologies or blockchain to incentivize data ecosystems and the entry of data, be that manually through applications or in the future looking at IoT sensors and how we can monetize that data.
Great. So we have a very good lineup of panel from government, from association, from different country. We also have an operator representative. And of course, we also have an innovator in the blockchain, right? So I think every one of you start the IoT journey not very long, right? With different experience. I know you did a lot of things to try to fostering the ecosystem. So I would like to ask you, can you highlight 1 or 2 things you have done on fostering the IoT ecosystem? How you help the community, right? Starting from knowing nothing, right? Including yourself. Do you have any successful story or challenge? Although it may not be long time, but I think the audience definitely would like to get some experience from you guys. Maybe start from John.
Okay, I think I shared a little bit earlier about our journey. It's not an easy journey. I think I can share maybe 2 use cases. One of them is the bird nest tracking system. I think for those who are not familiar, to export bird nest products to China, you have to go through quite a stringent process of tracking it so that there's a traceability. Actually, if you look back, IoT sort of came from traceability per se. You know, everything is like track and trace in a very short term. So we initiated one of the project to solve the pain point of the industry, because they're not able to track where other products came from and so on. So basically we came up with a system using RFIDs. First we tag where are the bird nest houses, which is the production houses, you know, along the way from the bird nest houses to the processing houses, you know, through the consumer. At the end of the day, the consumer be able to track at least what they are paying for, because when you talk about bird nest product to China, it's easily from ringgit, Malaysia, from 8,000 to 15,000 per kg. So it's a very premium product. So that is one thing. So we have implemented together with the Ministry of Agriculture. So that is one, I think we feel good. I think we learn along the way, because anything we do with G to G, government to government, it takes time. You know, you need to, it's not so much of the technology the processes, the people, and of course, the demand side of it. If not, then the project will not move. So I think that's one I can share. I think it's a long journey. It took us quite some time, because along the way we had a lot of hiccups, but we managed to push it through. And any export now, you have to go through that system. Okay.
Very good, very good. So I would like to hear about from Angie.
Oh,
right?
okay.
You are setting up the IoT Indonesian Association, and I saw you won a lot of challenge hackathon. Maybe you can also share about what kind of success those things you have achieved.
Yeah, Indonesia IoT Association has a long history before the formality, right? We start as a WhatsApp group, right? It's quite common in Indonesia. I believe in 2016, and yeah, we have many varying members background from university, from industry, from makers, telco kind of things. So eventually we are demanded to be formalized by also there's a push from government to be formalized so that we can do more, right, formally. That's why we are able to help and also collaborate with government in many occasions. Like I mentioned earlier that we have been doing, IoT business matching to connect with, IoT suppliers with customer. And then we try to bring the makers to be more recognized, to be more formalized in terms of companies and startups. So, and we also help collaborate with different kind of ministries. We collaborate with Ministry of Industry, Ministry of ICT, obviously, and also Ministry of Labor, like I said, to draft, and hopefully within next months we'll announce the formal certification for competence in IoT, and any other stuff. So it's of course it's a long journey. Myself even goes beyond that. We start in 2015 from the very grassroots, initially without government support. But thankfully, lately, government start to pick it up, and then we have good collaboration with government, universities, and other associations and organizations. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is a good time. This is a good time for IoT and basically in digital transformation. Yeah.
Thank you. So since you talk about actually is the private sector start first and then capture the support from government. I would like to ask James, do you have similar experience? Is John going to giving you sufficient support before you start, or you already start yourself?
Actually, the catalyst for us to start up Malaysia IoT Association is actually from the government. So in 2015, the Ministry of Science and Technology, under one of the agents called MIMOS, have launched this National IoT Blueprint. And they actually put a lot of effort in it, and as a KPI of IoT will generate $9.5 billion of additional revenue, right? We started, and then the government was doing a lot of blueprints and incentives. And then that time, I think I had a chance meeting with the minister at that time, who have sort of like challenges from the industry. Okay, you guys should be driving IoT. So that's why we started the Malaysia IoT Association. In terms of what we are doing right now, so as the keyword here is partnership, right? Partnership, collaboration is the key to success to implementing an IoT solution, right? No single organization or company in the world can proudly say, oh, I can give you the A to Z of IoT, right? What we are doing in Myota is we are bringing all the experts in different horizontals and verticals, right? I I think from our membership, a lot of the really amazing use cases are driven by startups, especially SMEs, right? We actually have a few startups working on smart buildings, smart cities. And I think one of the successful elements that they have is they have incorporated new business models, right? A lot of people are investing in IoT, but they did not have a very good model to sit on top of it to monetize the value, right? So that's why we are bringing in all the key experts to work together and try to realize a good solution on IoT. Maybe I just share two models. One of our members is a startup. They provide a chiller optimization solution based on IoT, big data, and AI. They have a business model where they will install the sensors for free, for free or almost at cost, right? How they monetize is that they will commit I think they commit 4% savings. So install the sensors. If they can save more than 4% of the energy consumption of the chiller, they will take the savings. So on paper, they can save up to 30%. In actual reality, they have actually deployed systems for shopping malls. I think one of the shopping mall chains they deploy is Robinsons. They are able to save about 23%, right? So they actually shared these savings to the client, right? So basically, the business model, I think it works very well for them. At the moment, they deploy systems in not only in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Philippines. I think they are working in projects in Middle East as well, right?
Thank you very much. We also have an operator representative here. Boy, I know you set up the XCam, right?
Right.
Very sexy lab. I have been visit. So can you share some experience and any successful things or you have done with the XCam?
Right. Okay. So like you said, Terence, many of us probably started IoT as a new thing, right? But for us in telco, it's not really new. Right? We kind of familiar with this machine type communication with M2M back a few years ago, right? But then when we started thinking about how we are going to do with this IoT, then we thought, what could we do differently this time, right? And then we come up to the conclusion that we should position XL as what Barbara said earlier today, as a trusted partner in the middle of the Indonesia IoT ecosystem. And that's why we had the initiative to launch this XCam, basically this IoT lab, which support IoT business organization, which is Pak Sharif in front of us, to become the center of the IoT ecosystem in Indonesia. So what we do is we both develop both supply and demand sides of the ecosystem. We try to be the hub for the Indonesia IoT industry. How we do it? There are a couple of challenges for IoT in Indonesia. One of the things is the supply of talent, for example. Then we are actively engaging with many institutions, doing, for example, hackathons, and also we established a kind of IoT academy. It has run for 4 batches right now, professional development for IoT. And we don't stop at the hackathon only. So we continue with the process of the winner of hackathon and bring them to be able to really launch products, IoT products, to go to the market. So far, a couple of ideation already come into our pipeline, and it's very interesting. I fully agree that the bottom-up idea from startups and students quite interesting, and it's very specific to the unique situation of each region, for example. For example, we have some hydroponic agriculture with IoT. Shrimp also is in our pipeline. Even fire detection. Then bottom-up idea from startup and students that we develop further. And the demand side, we work together with government institution as well to educate the market about how IoT can bring benefit to the industry. For example, about 3 weeks ago, we, together with our partner, we had a smart building event, right, to educate the building industry, architects, facility management, about how they can use IoT in the industry. So yeah, those kind of activities that we done. Hopefully, we can continue with the next stage of the initiative.
Yeah, very interesting. So since you mentioned a lot of vertical already, so maybe we can move to the next question. Actually, I think in the opening today, we heard about the opportunity in this part of the region, APAC, is huge, talking about 386 billion by 2025, right? And so I would like to ask you, I think a lot of audience will be interested, right, in your perspective. So which area, I mean, for an innovator or a startup or any company, if they would like to focus and invest, in particular in this region, do you have any good suggestion? What industry or what technology or which part of the value chain they should do, right? So maybe this time, maybe start from Alistair.
Oh, tough question. We've talked about traceability and we've talked about IoT. Traceability in itself is a very difficult business model. And what we've realized is that with the smallholder fishers and farmers, they're not going to invest in a traceability system. They actually need to be rewarded for sharing their data. And that's taken us on a journey with a Fishcoin token that enables the actors further down the supply chain that are demanding traceability to actually buy the tokens and then provide them to the upstream actors in developing nations and allow them to benefit when they redeem those tokens. And so we're dislocating the costs, if you like. And this comes back to innovative business models. And we have innovative technologies, but we need to have innovative business models as well. We're also looking at a way to make the smallholder and small-scale fishers and farmers shareholders in the business of traceability. So the profits that are made from the transactions, the microtransactions, can be sent back to the fishers and farmers as well. So I don't want to go into too much detail and take up too much time, but that's one of the things we've been looking at. And just to go back with traceability, it's absolutely mission critical that we get it, because if we can't identify, verify and reward sustainable, responsible production, we can't move the planet in the right direction. And so it's absolutely essential that we have partnerships, innovative business models and innovative technologies to do so. One of the things in seafood is that we throw away about 40 to 60% of our seafood through supply chains. So we have 90% of our seafood, wild seafood, on the verge of collapse or at maximum exploitation, yet we're throwing away almost half or more than half of it through these supply chains. And so it's essential for us to get time temperature sensors at the very point of harvest so that we can move away from risk-based use-by dates that force us to throw away our seafood from a liability perspective to evidence-based best-before dates. And so it's absolutely essential that we wire up the supply chain using IoT. And one of the projects that we're looking at the moment is to work with a whole supply chain of stakeholders and wire up fish farms with IoT sensors so that we can look at the system, the water quality, which actually can impact growth by up to 85%. Then look at the inputs, the feeds from a nutrition perspective, look at the strains of fish and prawns that we're growing from a genetics perspective. The research in genetics and selective breeding can increase growth rates by up to 80%. So how do we wire these up, and how do all the benefits that come from that in terms of increased productivity, less waste, improved quality, benefit all of the actors in the supply chain, and then how do we share in the costs and the benefits? And this is where distributed ledger technology can come into it.
Great. I think, yeah, definitely here we have the biggest population, right? So feeding people safely, efficiently, I think is really a very good opportunity, right? If we leveraging the technology. So how about CK? Do you have anything to add?
Sure. Like I mentioned, that it's difficult to pinpoint one vertical. But if I take two markets, one is Singapore, the tiny dot on the map. So if you look at Singapore's strategy of smart nation, when they're being kind of planning, so they categorize 3 areas of what defines a smart nation. One is transportation. As I mentioned, I was in Singapore in 2003, 3.5 million people. We get to sit in the MRT, but now we don't, right? So how do we improve the transportation when population move from 3.5 to 5.5 with a projection of 6.5? So transportation is a big topic there. So that's why a lot of autonomous vehicles, smart public transportation use cases are happening. Second focus they have is healthcare, and more specifically about elderly healthcare. Because if you look back again on Singapore, is we don't make enough babies, right? So we are getting old. So in 2030, so there'll be more load on the working young generation versus we have today. So how can we manage and innovate some solutions which will help to manage elderly population? Third category they manage is data, because Singapore is a financial hub, the transportation hub, the logistic hub, right? So how we should use innovative technologies to manage those massive and critical data. So that's Singapore, right? So let's move to China, multi-billion-dollar industry. So if you look at China's manufacturing industry, is not anymore cheap. I mean, it used to be the manufacturing hub of the world, but the manufacturing is moving to Africa now, stepping back to China. But so how the China, which used to be high volume, low value production, can those companies move into high value, low volume production? It's complete process change. I visited China more than India last few years, and I'm going again 2 weeks later. So that requires shift of not just the technology, but also the process, the mindset, that my process of, like I said, making millions of parts versus now to make complex part, but in low volume, how can I leverage the technologies to make it more efficient and remain competitive and sustained? So manufacturing is one personally I also look at, because my background into robotics and industrial IoT. So I still look after manufacturing as one of the key areas where we can see immediate benefit. But long term, if I look at agriculture, I visited actually one of the larger fish farm, which one farm was like half a kilometer long, and multiply by 300 of them. So fishery, agriculture is also another topic I think we should be watching out for.
Okay. So how about John? Malaysia perspective?
Okay, from Malaysia perspective, like I mentioned, one of the examples just now, agriculture is one of them. I think transportation, I think some of the low-hanging fruits, I think we should tap into it. I guess if I may put it the other way, I think not so much of what we can do is what are the pain points of the customer. You know, like in the bird nest situation, you know, that was a pain point there. It will affect a $1.2 billion business per year in the country. So that is, I would say, some of the verticals that you can explore. You know, I think collaboration. This platform is very good to bring everybody together from different country, different experience, different journey throughout IoT. I think sharing of the session is critical, and so that we can learn from each other. Even our journey was very difficult. It's not a smooth journey. So,
yeah, great. So since you talk about sharing and different culture, so actually APEC is very big, right? Very diversified, right? Even ASEAN have 10 countries, right? They are all in different kind of stage of development. So regarding of the geographical, environmental, currency, policy, culture, all have some similarity, but also difference. So as an IoT, it already create additional fragmentation, right? Besides already this kind of differences. So I think you guys work very hard individually, right, in your country, right? So do you think any area where we can work together, to help each other to fostering the ecosystem, scaling up, right? I think a lot of people looking for monetization. I think one of the elements besides business model, of course, is the scale, the volume. Do you see anything what we can do together, to help each other? Maybe start with CK or Alistair?
Sure. I'll start maybe quickly. So within IoT SG, what we do, we map the ecosystem. So if I put 7 layers of technology, which start from devices, gateways, connectivity, infrastructure, application, analytics, security around it, right? So there are various technologies goes into it. Within connectivity, you can talk about at least 10, 20 different varieties. And then there are technology providers of them. So what I think as a community we should do, and which we are also trying to put effort on, that how do we map the skills of a company, skills of a solution, where do they fit into readiness level today and their roadmap. So if we have that map of the ecosystem partner, which does not include only the technology companies, but also the individuals for the matter, there are a lot of domain knowledge skills which is required to put the solution together. I do personally work with few professors in universities. They're doing wonderful work, but they don't get visibility out in commercialization. Can we tap on it? So one is mapping, which I personally see as critical, and personally I put a lot of effort. So collectively, if I know what is happening in Malaysia or Thailand or other part of the world, maybe I can tap upon it that, okay, I'm missing this gap, why don't I tap there? Right? So at the end of it, like you said, is business model, the financial model will come in picture for sure, but just putting those 7 layers itself is a big task.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
So,
Alistair?
yeah, we're just about to submit a grant, I think I mentioned it before, to the Dutch government through an ingredients company that will then bring together feed companies, bring together the farmers and processors, and we're all going to centre on the farm with the IoT sensors monitoring the quality and dashboards monitoring the inputs and the outputs. And one of the questions on the application form was, what's the business model? And how can we, obviously we have to demonstrate to the farmers the value of having those sensors or buying those sensors and putting them on their farms. And we're hoping to do that. But what we can also do is look to monetize the data. So to give you an example, a dissolved oxygen sensor will provide oxygen data that we can put on a data marketplace. And a company that manufactures aeration equipment will want to buy that data. They want to know if that farmer needs an aerator, needs another aerator, or how his competitors' aerators are working and performing relative to his. So these are the sorts of things that we're looking at in terms of innovative business models using data marketplaces.
I see. So we also have 3 different associations here. Do you work together to, help each other, sharing what you are telling people, or what solution you have? Do you have done something like that before, or you just first met in here in the stage?
No, we have been connected within IoT SG, where we have about 5,000 professionals connected, not just in Singapore. I do talk to communities in Israel. I do talk to communities UK, Polish, London.
Okay.
So we are connected pretty well. So for example, in fact, we are evaluating a couple of companies from Poland. That are they good solutions if they need to come to this part of the world, how they should go about and who should they partner with. Similarly, one of the reasons for me here today actually to find out how we can tap upon other partners. Yeah.
Okay, maybe on the same note, if I may ask something, I may add it a little bit more. Okay, we from MCMC as a government body, so we have this initiative where we bring all the makers in one place. It's our annual event where we have a team. The last one we did was on IoT. So basically we want all the people, all the professional tertiary to come together and say, okay, solve the problem in your respective country and we can learn from each other. So in fact, our next event will be in November this year in Kuala Lumpur as well. So we bring all the 10 ASEAN countries. It was an ASEAN initiative. So then, but we open it up to our dialogue partners. The last one was we have China and Japan. I think Andre was one of our first participants from Indonesia as well. So that was in 2017.
Great.
So I think that's one channel or platform where we can collaborate and learn from each other. I think that's important.
Yeah. Anyone want to add something?
Yeah, definitely we first met here, right? So I think this could be the initial steps that we can, collaborate between countries in the region. You certainly haven't talked to us, so let's do the talking. So use cases, talents definitely are our challenge. One of the another challenge is what about the mass production, for example, right? A few years back, my company doing mass production in Penang, for example. So how we can share the the information, the I mean the link how about to link each other to better process from the prototyping to mass production, for example. And we are looking forward to work with MCMC, for example, for the next Asian Makerthon. Please let us know how we can help. And at the same time, probably if we have the same occasions, same events, we are hopefully we can, invite you guys to come to share, to come to our countries. So that I think that will bring us forward.
Sure. Actually, GSMA, we also support the members to win a lot of challenge. So we are very happy to support you guys to win challenge as well, especially cross country. We are very happy. We can also provide you a platform because we have a great event in Barcelona. Some of the winners can possibly, go to the biggest platform to showcase to the world how ASEAN innovation, right? So I think we can definitely collaborate to each other. So final question, we want to talk about 5G. So in the previous section, actually some people already mentioned 5G, right? And Greg mentioned actually NB-IoT, LTE-M actually is part of the 5G family. So in APAC, actually, we see Korea and Japan already roll out. We are going to have them to share in the section 6. And China and Australia is coming. Many good features in 5G like enhanced mobile broadband, ultra reliable, low latency, and of course, massive IoT, right? So with your experience in the IoT journey, so how do you think ASEAN country can prepare? The 5G is coming, right? How can the experience you have can shorten the journey they have to go through the IoT experience? Any things you can share and give us a good lesson? Maybe start from Boy.
Yeah, sure. So there are some fundamental issues, right, that each country has to solve. For example, like Indonesia, spectrum issue, right, availability of spectrum. But on top of that, I think, like you said, IoT can become one of the key driver and use case for the 5G, in addition to the enhanced mobile broadband, for example. But for that to happen, the prediction that to happen, then we have to start really making the current IoT reality. I mean, with this NB and Cat-M, right? Unless we start now and the market see the real value of adopting IoT, then the estimate or the prediction of the IoT in 5G will never happen. So I think it's very important. Right now, we start really pushing hard to make the IoT realize its real value.
James, you are the 5G task force member, right?
So in terms of what MyIOTA is doing, obviously other than the workshops, the conference, we have actually our annual conference called HOT, Hyper of Things. Other than all these activities to share ideas, we also working on a project where we are building an IoT experience center, right, or sandbox. So as you can see, IoT is very wide in terms of its applications. One of the challenges is that there are like 1,000 types of sensors, multiple type of platforms, right? They claim to have interoperability and openness, but I've not seen like really like vendor A with vendor B platform and vendor C cloud, right? So what we're doing, our members are contributing their technology. At the moment, we are starting with three sandbox. One is on smart manufacturing. So one of our members is providing a robotic arm. One of the members providing the analytics and the sensors. We also have members who compete with each other. So they're trying to get their products to talk to each other. I think that is the power of IoT. We are starting with smart manufacturing. After that, we will have something for smart city and also smart supply chain, right? I think the vision for IoT is connecting from the consumer all the way to the factory and back to the organization. right? So one of the case, sort of like actual environment, try to case that we have a startup that's working with brain sensors. So the idea is that the consumer would think what they want. This would actually goes into a smart vending machine provided by another startup, another member, that will place an order to the factory. The factory will start producing the product that they want based on different color and things like that in real time, right? So this is one of the interesting case study. I think probably 3 years down the road, it would be a reality. So if anyone has seen the product launched by Elon Musk, the BrainLink, where they implant the sensor to your brain, right? Right. So I think that would become a reality where we don't have to do anything. We think of what we want, and maybe 10 minutes, a drone will deliver the product to us, right? So we're trying to really build a sandbox that will demonstrate this live. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I think today we just start to collaborate or continue to collaborate toward the era of 5G. So thank you very much. Let's give a quick big clap for our panel. Thank you very much. Very interesting discussion, right? Now we go to session 5. So session 5 is another very interesting session. So we invite 4 different innovators from different industry to tell you about how they use the IoT to develop different kind of intelligent use case. So first one is coming from Singapore. Ong Jin Jong, CTO of Garuda Robotics from Singapore. He is doing the drone with 5G, right? Let's welcome him.
Oh, thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? All right, great. I'm Jinju. We are from Garuda Robotics. We are not an Indonesian company, but we wish we are in Indonesia big enough by now. But most of the time, we spend our time in Singapore and Malaysia. We do have flights in Singapore, in Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and so on. Now, I can go on and on about especially agriculture. I think if you come to our booths over there, we'll talk to you about how MBLT and how the drones working in the palm oil plantations, making sustainable planting a priority, make sure we address all the haze and all these things. But today, in these 12 minutes, I'm just going to talk more about a specific research project in Singapore we're doing. And the only jargon I'm going to introduce you today is called Beyond Visual Line of Sight, right? So a lot of the drones use case today is that you can, maybe, for example, you have been in EDOTCO's booth, you saw the tower inspection as an example. The pilot is at the tower, inspecting the tower without having to climb the tower. That's what we call a visual line of sight use case. The pilot is there. But there are a lot of new use cases coming on board, which is beyond visual line of sight. Imagine having a large compound where you have to do security, right? If the security guard follows the drone around, well, he might as well just go on the police car. Imagine yourself suffering from cardiac arrest in the middle of nowhere, and there's a passerby. He calls the police, and an AED, an automated external defibrillator, flies to you, right, to save your life in minutes. Or, for example, you have maybe need for blood, then we have the hospitals deliver blood to you, and so on, right? So just now, I think James also talks about e-commerce, right? I want something, 10 minutes, a drone flies to you. All these are use cases of beyond visual line of sight drone flights, where the drone is actually piloted by somebody sitting in some command center somewhere, and the drone is flying out there connected through, for example, the internet, okay? And where does this all leads to? Eventually, this is going to lead to, for example, air taxis. You're going to have helicopters flying you to work, right? But the pilot of the helicopter is not on board, right? The drone flies itself. It knows it's just like your Grab app, right? I want to go from point A to point B. A drone comes to you, you hop on it, it flies to the destination, right? And this is all not far future. This is a demo. So Volocopter, one of the air taxi companies, is going to do a demonstration next month at ITS Congress in Singapore already. So this is all now, okay? Another few examples. So some of you might saw Amazon has the latest release. Amazon has been doing this for, I think, 5-6 years now for cargo delivery. This is an example from Airbus in Singapore. They have a Skyways project where they try to do delivery also from ship to shore and within the university campus. Okay. So for ourselves, in Garuda Robotics, we have launched the last few months a security product called Coverage. And you can imagine now is an incident, right? So a docking station in the middle of somewhere, it opens, the drone flies straight to where the incident is. Whether the incident is a fire, whether the incident is someone trespassing, right? We do basically what everybody does, right? Computer vision, detect people, detect cars. On top of that, we have to make sure that we have to deconflict with airspace. So make sure you don't fly into airports, make sure that all the drone flights that we do in the sky is safe. We have to plan where the paths are and also do a lot of reporting. And with that, you can actually command and control drones from one of our products, Plex Horizon. This is basically the software that powers the command center side of things, right? I mean, I can go through this in detail as a product discussion, but I think for today, I just go to the use case. Okay? So another use case would be for facilities inspection where it is not just a single, say, telco tower. Maybe you have a very long pipe and you want to go from docking station to docking station, automatically detecting whether there's a gas leak, for example, right? Or over tanks and maybe large compounds where we can construct 3D models. What's the issue here? The issue here is that we do not yet have network coverage in the sky the same way that all you guys have been covering the ground, right? So that is actually one of our biggest challenge for enabling beyond visual line of sight flights. We have SATCOM, sure, but if you look at Plex Horizon, in the command center, we have full HD video streaming in from the drone. That's not something SATCOM can support. We have tried NB-IoT, Sigfox, LoRaWAN, you name it, right? IoT technologies. None of them work. All that we have been doing so far in Singapore is 4G LTE, and that's the only thing that's working so far. We have been trying to work with, I'll come to that later, but we're working with people to enable 5G. But 5G is the same challenge, right? Which is you have 3.5 gig, but now you need to beam 5 kilometers into the sky. What kind of power would you need for that? Okay? So infrastructure is one big challenge. But of course, on top of that, there's a lot of other things. So this is a diagram from NASA. Even NASA and US, they are trying to come up with systems where the manned aviation and the unmanned aviation can coexist. A lot of things are still very military-oriented, right? There's a lot of competing standards. How our drones talk to the command center and the cloud and so on is still quite proprietary. Different governments are proposing different identification. Hopefully, at some point, there's an equivalent of IMEI, right? IMEI number that will appear in the drone industry. And last but not least, every time we go out to do such work, to give some such offerings, the local regulator, the civil aviation regulator, always have a lot of questions to ask. They have no idea where this thing is going, right? And therefore, this brings us to the purpose of the partnership we call Future Flight. Now, we started this partnership in 2017, right? We were awarded a grant to do a lot more R&D work where we have end users, a bunch of different drone manufacturers to hopefully standardize the protocols on the drone side, as well as some technology providers. So important to point out is Singtel, who 2 years ago came to us and said, hey, I want to be the first in Singapore to have a national drone network. How does that look like? Right, so we've been doing a lot of tests, and I'll share a bit more. Arity M also is a network solutions provider, and they have been in Singapore helping us build private LTE for the purpose of building a totally isolated network for the home ministry and so on. Right? And Gemalto helping us with the secure element on the drone to make sure that the pilot knows that this is the exact drone that I'm piloting, and the drone can also trust the pilot's commands. Econ helping us with drone insurance, and AirMap from US helping us with unmanned systems traffic management. Okay, so again, because today is mostly about telco, so let me dive into the kind of research work we have done so far in this consortium, right? So one of the first things we need to do is need to map the skies. We've been building drones that carry spectrum analyzers, flying around Singapore to find out the RSSI values, the uplink, downlink. It's not downlink, right? It's uplink speeds of LTE networks so that we can get good streaming information, right? So we are refreshing this technology now. So if any of you are deploying, say, 5G networks and you want to make sure your sky has good coverage for drones, you can talk to us. We can help you fly and detect how the signals are like, okay? Then as part of that work that we're doing in Singtel, we also went on to do a bit of exploratory work with the 5G technology. Specifically, there's a concept of network slicing, right? So network slicing means you take a particular radio frequency range, you reserve some for a short period of time for higher priority video feed, right? So the drones only fly usually about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. During that 5 minutes, I would like to have that feed uninterrupted by, say, your Facebook Live and your YouTube Live kind of a feed, right? So last year we did this experiment with Singtel where we still use 4G dongles because the 5G dongles are just ginormous and we couldn't carry them yet. So we used 4G dongles, but Ericsson installed 5G core into the network, and we have been doing some experiments and could prove that using network slicing, you can get somewhat of a protection, right, against bad things that happen, right? So this is one example. If the drone doesn't have good connectivity, for safety reasons, actually the drone will go home. It will not complete the mission, right? But then on top of that, there's also streaming and so on, okay? So in the interest of time, I'm going to skip more of the videos. All right, this is just an example of the place that we're flying in. One specific thing that we had to build for this particular experiment was an onboard computer for drones. Okay, and this onboard computer is now part of an offering, which I'll share later, where any of you can access, where it's already pre-built with all the back-end systems that we have. If you have a drone, you just have to put this computer on it, connect it to your autopilot, and it automatically connects to the telco, basically, right? So you can, there's 2 SIM card slots. You can put the 2 different telcos, just in case one telco doesn't cover the sky as well as the other, right? So in Singapore's case, we did it with a Singtel SIM and an Arity SIM with the 2 different bands, right? We are trying different modes of operation. Maybe the default one is the private LTE and the public LTE is the backup, and vice versa. It all connects to the back end. Just to give you a bit more sort of the architectural view of things is that, you know, it sits between the LTE communication module and the flight controller, and it connects back to the message queues behind the scenes. And more importantly, is for us to get this information and publish it to the government or whoever is the airspace manager in the country, whether it's the Air Force or the CAAs. Some of them actually request also for specific trackers to be put on the drone, so there's another channel that goes back also through LTE and so on to the government as well, right? So all these are very important next steps for Beyond Vision Line of Sight. Without us putting in place a technology like this and demonstrating that it's viable, regulators don't know how to say, okay, this is the way forward. You must have such a technology in place or something equivalent, right? So we're demonstrating all this. And moving forward, what's going to happen is we're going to expand this Future Flight Consortium, more importantly, to go out of Singapore, right? So we've been doing this in Singapore for 1.5 years now. We're ready to demonstrate and trial this in another country with a different telco, different operator, different infrastructure, and different challenges, right? In Singapore's case, the challenge was really much a very good 4G coverage area, but a very, very congested urban area. What if I want to operate in Sabah? What if I want to operate in Sarawak in Malaysia, for example? It's a different kind of challenge. I might not be able to get my 1080p video back from the command center anymore. Can I fly the drone with just telemetry? Is it too dangerous? Right? All these are questions. If we do not try it, we do not know. Right? And with that, there's a technology access program that we're trying to pitch to all of you guys, and hopefully, if any of you are interested, do come and talk to us, and we will try to basically replicate everything that we've done in Future Flight Consortium in another different setup, different use case. The best use case for us right now is because we have done quite a bit of work on medical deliveries and security patrols. We can very easily spin up those. But if not, any other use cases, telco inspection, oil and gas use cases, even counter drones, right? So some of the exciting new things coming out is how can we integrate the counter drone solutions into the same technology stack, right? So any of these use cases, please come to us, and we hope to be able to talk to you more about what we do in Future Flight, right? Okay, Thank you. I have 8 seconds left. Any questions? Right, I did it in 12 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jin Zhong. So actually now Jin Zhong opened a new horizon for connected skies, right? Actually, I see some Zhong use case in the factory. Yeah, so now I want to introduce my next speaker, Mr. Yuen Viet Ngoc, founder and CEO of Directic from Vietnam. He's going to share you about how he used IoT for smart factory.
Thank you, Terence. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nguyen Vinh Lộc. I am a CEO of a Davitech company from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Today, my topic is to share to you all about our industrial IoT solution to enhance manufacturing efficiency. Firstly, we have a forecast of spending of Internet of Things for different vertical markets. And from this chart, we can easily find out the biggest vertical market spending of Internet of Things is the manufacturing, discrete manufacturing, and then transportation and logistics, and then utilities. And here the chart to show the growth rate, and you see with manufacturing, the growth rate up to 84%, almost double year by year for manufacturing, and then energy, utility, and also transportation. Okay, in this chart, we also have a view of IoT important by industry, and we can also easily to see the manufacturing sector have the highest importance of IoT. Okay, when we are talking about industrial IoT for manufacturing, there are some IoT drivers to allow people to adopt IoT application. And one of the biggest drivers is the benefit. How can we improve the benefit of industrial IoT to manufacturing customer? And here are the summary. The first is industrial IoT can improve the overall operation efficiency for customer. Then increase productivity, reduce downtime, maximize asset utilization, increase worker skill and productivity, reduce cost, and improve product quality. In the manufacturing environment, normally we have some connectivity technology. You can see we can have a Wi-Fi, or Ethernet, or cellular. Normally, when we approach industrial customer, like manufacturing industrial factory, normally customer propose and they want to use Wi-Fi or Ethernet. But why we highly recommend customer to use cellular? Because of this advantage. With cellular, customer can have a very low investment and operation cost also very low and very quick deployment. Besides that, the reliability of the cellular network is very high because we have the backup, the support from the telco every time, everywhere. Then the mobility. With a cellular technology, customer can moving their machine or production line to everywhere easily. But of course, with cellular, there are also some disadvantages, like the data transmission is going out to the internet, then go back to the factory. So data privacy is some issue for them. And then the low bandwidth connection. However, for the IoT industry, like the data from sensor or machine, we don't need to high bandwidth like media data. Yeah. Compared to the Wi-Fi and Ethernet connection, the inherent advantage of Wi-Fi and Ethernet is a high bandwidth connection, and they can deploy the local connection in their internal corporate. But the disadvantage of Wi-Fi and Ethernet is high investment in investment and also operation cost, and very long time deployment. Less mobility. For example, if customer want to deploy a system to monitor their CNC machine in their factory, with Ethernet cable, for example. Then later, if they want to move those machines to another factory, then they have to establish another network system. Take a long time and cost very high. That's why normally when we approach the customer, we highly recommend them to use cellular technology. Here are the industrial IoT system architecture we propose to industrial customer. And here we can see the connection from the gateway to the IoT platform using the cellular network. We can see from the real world, like the sensor, meter, machine, or equipment vehicles in their factory. Normally in their factory, they already have the sensor, the machine, or equipment. So our role is we supply the gateway to install the gateway next to their sensor or machine to collect data. And from gateway, the connectivity from gateway to sensor machine can be wired or wireless. Then the main function of the gateway is to aggregate data, processing data, and send data to any IoT platform for visualization or further analytics. Next, I would like to share with you all about some typical application of industrial IoT for manufacturing. We have done many years for more than 80 customers in Vietnam and also other countries in the region, and even Australia. One of the applications for industrial IoT is energy management solution. So with IoT enablement, we can deploy easily and quickly the energy management solution for the factory for all kinds of energy, like electricity, water, compressed air, steam, industrial gas, and fuel. And what benefit of IoT can bring to energy management solution is it can reduce production downtime, improve operation efficiencies, reduce costs, enhance worker safety, and comply to authority regulation and customer requirement. So with the energy management solution, how is the deployment? The deployment can be done very easily and quickly with our technology. For example, most of the customer, the factory, they already have the fuel sensor or the power meter, water meter, gas meter, any kind of energy meter in their factory already. So to deploy this project, we just send to them the gateway. This is a cellular gateway. Normally, the cellular gateways, we have the SIM card inserted inside the gateway before sending to customer. After receiving the gateway, customer can do the wiring, hook up by themselves. After that, our engineer can sit in any office in the world to do a configuration to get the data from any meter in their factory. Then customer can have a real-time visualization of data of energy consumption, or then they can have a reporting for energy reporting easily. Another application for industrial IoT is the machine equipment monitoring solution. This can be applied for any kind of machine or production line or even the utility equipment. The machine, for example, a CNC machining machine or plastic injection machine. For the utility equipment can be a boiler, a HVAC or chiller, generator, for example. The benefit that this solution can bring to customer is to increase the productivity, reduce cost, increase worker productivity, maximize asset utilization, reduce downtime, and improve quality. I give you one example with my use case, my customer about the CNC machine. With their CNC machining machine equipped with our IoT technology, the gateway, customer can have the efficiency report and then downtime report. From that, they can find out which machine have highest downtime, and then they can analyze further to see which reason caused a higher downtime for that machine. For example, the reason can be the worker go to the mill for a long time, longer time than other worker, for example, or that machine have a problem with the tool or the alarming with the machine longer than the other machine. So that machine needs to do maintenance, for example, like that. Yep. The third application, further to this machine equipment monitoring solution, here also the architecture of the system is very simple. With every machine or equipment, we also install one cellular gateway to collect data. This gateway will support multiple field bus or protocol to connect to any machine in a factory. And the third application of industrial IoT solution is to monitor the environment. The environment can be environment in the warehouse or in the factory production area to improve product quality, to enhance staff satisfaction, to improve worker productivity and comply to authority regulation. With the solution, we can connect to any kind of the sensor to monitor the environment like temperature, humidity, differential pressure in the clean room, or even the toxic gas, etc. And the architecture is also very simple. Normally, with the environment monitoring, we propose the wireless solution. That means we can install the wireless sensor to monitor the temperature, humidity, gas, etc. to connect to a cellular gateway via a wireless connection. It's a private wireless connection. And next, in the industrial IoT architecture system, the key component is we call the Smart IoT Gateway. And with my company, we name it iConnector. iConnector is our own brand name. We started design the Smart IoT Gateways in 2012, and with GPRS technology. Then later, we upgraded to 3G, 4G, and now NB-IoT. Why we call this a Smart IoT Gateway? Because this device is a 3-in-1 device. The first function is a data logger. It will collect data and log inside its memory before sending to server for further analytics. And it also have the function is a logic controller like BLC, programmable logic controller. It can process the event or alarm like a logic controller. So with this Smart IoT Gateway, you can deploy a simple application. You don't need any PLC, for example. And the third function of this gateway is a field bus gateway. It can connect to any PLC sensor meter in the factory via the Modbus, Ethernet, IB, CC-Link, Profinet on a common Modbus field bus, industrial field bus on the market, and even with a wireless sensor around. Here are some architecture to use this gateway. So basically, we have the blue box, the gateway connect to the sensor meter via cable, can be RS-485 or Profibus, Profinet, etc. And then the gateway connect to any IoT platform. And the second deployment can be, we can connect the gateway to the sensor or machine using the local wireless network. The wireless network can be Sigfox or, can be LoRa or sub-gigahertz, for example. And we also, my company also have the new version is EXD, Explosion Proof Gateway, can be used for oil and gas industry. And beside the IoT driver, there are also many IoT barriers that customers have to overcome. And one of the biggest barriers for IoT is the data privacy. So with my company, we have a solution. We can deliver to customer the on-premise industrial IoT server. With this industrial IoT server, this customer can deploy the system very easy. They can install this server into their factory, facility, warehouse, office, anywhere they want to deploy the system. Okay, thank you for your time yes. If you have any information, please contact us via email. Thank you.
Thank you, Vietnam. Vietnam, sorry. So now we have the another break. So after that, we will have session 6. We invite the pioneer from Japan, Korea, and also China to share about what they have done on 5G in that part of the North Asia. And please enjoy let's come back on 20 minutes, a quarter.